Although I'd noticed the girls with large headbands walking around on my first day, I hadn't paid them much attention till one came into the shop. That was when a customer had made a large purchase. "Abena, go outside and call us a kaya yo," Auntie said. "A kaya what?" Your parents are making a brownie out of you at that American school." Auntie smiled, glancing with a mixture of pride and embarrassment at her customers. Being the niece from the most expensive high school in Ghana was no problem. In fact, I'd soon realized it was the main reason she'd wanted me in her shop. Having someone who sounded expensive, her description of me, serve the customers was exactly what she wanted. But sounding like a brony, a white person, or what she really meant, a clueless foreigner, was taking the glamour too far, even for her. Gifty called me brony too, though I was darker skinned than she was, to show that she didn't consider someone as privileged as me a real Ghanaian. "You don't know Kayaye, those girls walking all over the market with pans on their heads? Oh, them! Kopebi mami." She switched to Chi in that deliberate manner she used when she was on a mission to rescue the Ghanaian in me. "Go find me one." I stepped outside, blinking in the blazing sunshine, and screwed up my eyes, trying to spot one of the girls Auntie was talking about. It didn't take long, because the girl signaled pertly when she saw me scanning the stalls and alleys. I nodded, and she marched briskly to the shop. I'd noticed them more since then, but I'd never had the urge to talk to them until today. This one was different. She looked no older than me, and behind her intensity, there was a shy, slightly scared look in her eyes. And when I realized she didn't speak any language I knew, I was amazed and intrigued. A girl working as a market porter might not know English because she wasn't going to school. But how could she possibly manage in Makola Market without Tree or Ga? What did she speak? I wondered as I trailed her and her customer. Perhaps I'll find out when we reach the car park. But I did not. She just lowered her headpan, packed the rolls of cloth back into their bags, and placed them in the madam's car trunk for her. Then she accepted the proffered coins with a tiny nod and lifted the empty bowl back onto her head. The car sparked with a rich purr as she turned around. She saw me immediately, and I knew she was not surprised, although she'd had no idea I was following her. She smiled the same smile. It was the second time, and I noticed the same thing, that when she smiled at me, the lost look in her eyes disappeared. Perhaps that was what had made me follow her. The wind was stirring up dust, and vendors around the car park were starting to pack away their wares. Rain seemed certain, but you could never tell at this time of year whether it would actually fall or blow over. I didn't want to get caught in a downpour, and I knew Auntie would be wondering where I was. Judging from the girl's grip on her bowl, she knew she should be looking for her next customer. But she just walked over to me, as if we had an appointment. We looked at each other, and I noticed she had a fine line etched vertically in the middle of each cheek. "Efrem Abena," I said in Twi, putting a hand up to my chest. "Unyuli Faiza," she said in a language I would soon find out was called Dagbanle. We did not speak each other's languages, but I heard her name and she heard mine. And I found out other things about her too that day. Don't ask me how, but she was just so easy to talk to. There was a calmness about her that made it seem as if we had all the time in the world, even while the wind whipped around us. I spoke a bit more Twi, and she spoke a bit more Dagbanle. And I guess we must have used some sign language and a few universal words that she could understand. As we stood there, amid people dashing for shelter, barely noticing the few drops the clouds flecked us with as they moved lazily on. In our patchwork of communication, there was laughter and exclamations, and no one watching from a distance could have dreamed we had no language in common. It was like speaking made-up language with a baby. The words didn't matter because the meaning was in everything else. The intonation, the eye contact, the body language. I don't know how to explain it, but I found her easier to talk to than people with whom I could converse in 2 or 3 languages. She came from a place called Tolong in the northern region, and she had just arrived in Accra the day before. And she was 14 years old, like me.